we were talking about, and it was really actually, I said they should have a camera back in the tunnel here because we were dropping pearls of insights and wisdom. And I talked about crossing a threshold. When you're preparing to perform, when you're doing a task that is meaningful and matters to you, you have a choice to cross a threshold, to be where you are. So I want to challenge everybody in this room to be here right now. 20 minutes of opportunity to level set, to affirm, reaffirm, spark, ignite, instigate. So I thought I would start off with a little poem from James Michener that really epitomizes my meaning of play. The master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. See, to him, he's always doing both. And shouldn't that be our quest, to blur the line between our work and play and find joy in every one of our endeavors? So I welcome you to this conversation about the meaning of play. And this is an amazing moment for two Philly guys to get together. So just understand, if we get a little loud and energetic, I'm not angry, I'm from Philly. That's how that works. So
we go way back, like way back. He was a trainer for the Sixers, and I was at Lower Merion High School. I mean, going back to when I was 15 years old, 14 years old. And the Sixers at the time weren't very good. I mean, they didn't have a lot of hard work.
We weren't even trusting the process then.
Yeah. So, but Kevin had like these revolutionary ideas and concepts for training and recovery and all sort of stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm hanging here. Use them on me. We'll work out together.
And we did some crazy. He would come in and boast, I've never had a hard workout on the pool. Well, come with me. And he brought it up last night at the reception, right?
Oh, it was terrible.
Last night he brought it up at the reception. He said, do you remember that thing you used to do to me in the pool, and bungee cord and tied to the starting block and had me run out to where you were, and then you get further out and I had to run further? He said, I had never been so tired and more thrilled.
It was beautifully awful.
Yeah. There it was, right? There it was. Yes, I love those oxymorons, a wonderful dilemma, if you will. So I want to start our conversation with going back to a conversation you had this morning with the youth panel.
Yeah.
And there was one moment, and you brought it up when we were just getting mic'd up in the back, about Zoe. And you asked her, how do you deal with loss or something difficult? And you said something to me back there that was so amazing, because you said, why don't adults listen to that more? What was that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she was very matter of fact about it, and said she doesn't dwell on it. She looks at the mistakes that were made, she makes the corrections, and she moves on to the next one. It's like, well, okay, well, how easy is that? Right? But I feel like most of the time as adults, we overcomplicate things. And emotionally, we tend to get in our own way a lot. And so I think for us and how we guide our children, through their days as young athletes, some of it has to do with just protecting that childlike innocence that they have and their view of the world. And so they don't grow up and get in their own way, but continue to have that mentality and have that mindset, because it's such a pure one.
But here's one thing I know to be true. They do what they see.
Yeah.
They do what they see. And so they want to impress you, right? And they want you to be impressed by them. So they're modeling you. So if you're on your device at the dinner table, guess what they're going to do? They want to be on their device at the dinner table because I'm doing what you're doing, and it must be important. And so I think the more that we start to understand, we are modeling for the next generation. Your conversation with them and the way you approach them, and you said you really enjoy talking to youth because you're coaching them right now, which I think is really amazing. So it was easy for you to talk with them.
Real easy, man. I speak to 12-year-olds every single day because I coach my daughter's team. And it's funny, you got to watch like all the little things that you say. You got to say what you mean, do what you say. Like a friend of mine coaches a boys team. Tells the boys, all right, 5 more minutes, we get water break. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes, no water break. Boys don't say anything. Right? I had him come and coach my girls. He goes, 5 minutes water break. 5 minutes go by, the girls are like, hold up. You said it was 5 minutes. And I just sat back and I said, dude, you lost the team already. Lost the team already, right? Mean what you say, right?
But they'll hold you accountable.
They'll hold you accountable.
They will hold
It's
you
not
accountable.
good enough to just say, you know what, do this.
Yes. So
Boy would
my-
be like, yeah, I'm doing
yes,
it. Girl
my
be like,
grandfather
I'll
would
do
say,
it, but like, why though? Like, explain
how
to
you
me.
do the little things is how
explain to
you
me
do
why.
all things,
Yeah.
right? How you do the little things is how you do all things, right? And I think the more that we start to think about it and it's all about the details,
Yeah.
I think that's really important, right? And
Sure.
so, but I love that idea, you know, do what you say.
Yeah, man. And you have to measure your words because they're very impactful. You can't just, you know, throw out a comment here and there, boy or girl, it doesn't matter. You can't throw something out there. You have to be very measured. You have to understand the sense of responsibility that you have.
Words matter.
Sure do.
Words matter. So we're going to go on a little journey,
All right.
right? And so I'll only say this one time because this is a Philly thing, right? So I've never called you Kobe.
Right.
I've always called you Bean, right?
Yep.
Because it's always been that, right? It's always been Bean, which is your middle name, right? But in Philly,
Don't ask.
Don't
ask.
Yeah, just don't ask. It's just a thing, right?
It is.
So,
it actually is.
So I will call you by your proper name up here, but just know that I'm projecting Bean every time.
I've never heard
right?
you say Kobe a day in my life.
No, right?
Yeah, no.
Never. So when you were growing up in Italy, and the idea of a different sport culture, but also you didn't start off with basketball.
Right.
What was that like for you? How did you make those adjustments? How did you actually fit in? How did you find a way to fit in?
Well, playing soccer. You know, most of the kids, you go to the park and they're out there playing soccer all day long, right? And so that's where I made friends. I mean, I couldn't speak the language at the time, but I could understand the sport. I can understand the rules of the sport. And that's how you start making friends. And they start, although they're speaking Italian, they're using hand gestures and all this, that, and the other. And it helped me catch up to the language pretty quickly.
So one of the things that I realized, and I've said this many times, we all speak ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's a language that we all get,
Sure.
right? Because there's a universal gesture,
Right.
right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
But of course, like, if you really like, if you ain't getting on my foot right, I'm not reaching for that, right?
All right, if you're open. Yeah.
Right? Doesn't matter where you go in
Yeah,
the world, people
sure.
understand that.
Sure.
But the fact that you were already learning, and I think this actually may have formed a lot of the way you approach basketball. If you're learning from the game of football, the global game of football,
Sure.
soccer, and you're learning movements and everything there, how did that actually influence the way you played basketball when you first started out playing it?
Well, it trains the brain to look at things, in sets of threes instead of twos. I'm being very basketball geeky, but I can't help it. So like in basketball, what you'll see is you see the game being played with one or two players. It's pick and roll, there's give and go, right? There's that kind of action. In soccer, you're playing in threes all the time. You're playing in triangles all the time. So it's not just my communication with you, but it's how this communication and the ball movement between us opens up something for that person. So it's not good enough for me to just simply think of you, but I have to think of boom, 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 boom. And that's how the game is played. And so when I played basketball, it helped me at an early age start seeing the game 3 moves ahead instead of just 2.
So you know what I was laughing about, because I played soccer,
Yeah.
but you're talking about triangles.
Yep.
Did you hear that? Just dropped that pearl for y'all.
Yeah.
Triangles,
can't
right?
escape
So
the
you
triangle.
can't escape the
Can't escape the
triangle,
triangle,
right?
yes.
And we should, out of respect, Tex Winter, who was a very important person in your life,
Yep.
right? Just recently passed away.
Yep.
And so us bringing up the triangle, I know that always makes you think of him. And we'll discuss the influence of coaches. But you did mention one thing, and I think maybe actually this is a nice segue. You met a lot of coaches when you lived in Europe that were from the U.S.
Yeah. The timing.
How did that all happen?
Just timing. Like when I was growing up in Europe, a lot of the top coaches had spent a lot of time in Europe trying to expand the game. Right. So you had great coaches, the Red Holtzmans of the world, the Red Auerbachs, UB Browns. All these great coaches would come and do coaching clinics. So when I was growing up, it was like everything was fresh in the coaches' minds. It's like I was getting all the basic stuff, footwork, tactics and strategy. We used to have practices where we played full court 5-on-5, no dribbling. You're like, what? But I got the basics from all these great coaches that came over to teach the game. So
How old were you then?
8.
How about that?
8 years
How about
old.
that? 8 years old. But you know what? You actually mentioned this at the reception. Tiki-taki, tiki-taki,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
FC Barcelona. But they were teaching you that in basketball.
Right.
Moving the ball, moving the ball, moving the ball.
Right.
So isn't that interesting that the global game of football had that influence on you that moved then into learning from coaches who were also teaching you a similar strategy? So you were already starting to form an opinion, a point of view about how you wanted to play the game, but also how you wanted to be coached.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, too, is they didn't give me anything that wasn't absolutely necessary to have. Right, so it wasn't like they put me in front of a cone and then forced me to dribble with a basketball and then 5 tennis balls and then like do all this spinning and all this, because it's unnecessary, right? They taught me how to think the game first, right? How to pass with left hand, right hand, finish left hand, right hand, how to shoot the ball properly, right? Teach you how to play with others. And then when I came back to the States at 15, I saw these kids doing all this stuff, and I was like, dang, I gotta learn how to do that. You know what I mean?
Hill League, Sunny Hill League.
Right, Sunny Hill League. So then it was just,
Yes.
putting the icing on the cake. But the coaches gave me the cake.
Yeah. I'd like to say you put some hot sauce on there.
Put some hot sauce on it,
Some hot
too,
sauce
yeah.
on your game,
That's
right?
That's what I tell my kids every day. I do. They make a move. They'll do like a little in and out move. I'm like, yeah, that was good. Now put some hot sauce on that. And they're like, well, yeah, just put some hot sauce on it. Like boom, boom, like that. Spice that thing up.
Spice it up a little bit, right?
Spice it up, yeah.
So we're having this amazing conversation about think globally, play locally, right? And as we start to think about play, how would you define play for you?
Play is doing what you love to do. I mean, your poem was so beautiful because it's so true. I mean, for everybody in this room, it feels like you don't work a day in your life when you're doing what it is that you love to do. So to me, play and hard work are one and the same. I didn't realize basketball was hard work until it became a job, and I started looking around. A lot of the players weren't playing as often as I was. And that's when I realized, there's a difference for some between work and play. But for me, they're one and the same.
And I think that's one of the endeavors that we're trying to introduce to youth, right?
Yeah.
Is to find opportunities to sustain your play throughout your entire life.
Sure.
And never lose that joy.
Sure.
And I think that's so important. But let's go back to your coaches, because I think they are a source of either loving or hating sport. And so you mentioned the coaches who came over to Europe, the influence that they had at 8 years old. But then when you came to the States and you entered Lower Merion High School.
Had a great coach.
And that
Great
coach was?
His name is Greg Downer.
Greg Downer.
He was recently inducted into the Philadelphia Hall of Fame. And he's just a phenomenal coach. I mean, he was there like, listen, you want to get to that level, you got to stay at practice late. Right? You want to get here early? Come on and get here early. I open up the gym for you early. 4 a.m.? It's like, oh, sure, yeah, cool. Right? But he was always on me about teaching the game. Out in high school, I could dominate because I was taller and all sort of stuff. I say, no, you got to get a mid-range game. Right? It's not good enough just to shoot the three and post kids up. You got to be able to get here, stop, and pop. Pull up for the jumper, runners, all that good stuff. And he's just a phenomenal coach, man. Very fortunate.
I think one of the other interesting things is the coaches that you met in Europe, right, teaching you the triangle, if you will, 3-man ball, right? But they had a style that was common, right? So you mentioned this last night, that all the coaches that you've had had similar traits. What are some of those traits?
Well, the most important one is that they were never condescending, and they were never abusive with how they taught the game. Right? They spoke to tactics, and if you had a question, they encouraged it. Right? So they wanted you thinking more. So it wasn't a coach that's, listen, I'm going to do all the thinking for you. Go out here, do this, do that, do this, do that. I never had coaches like that. It was more like, here's the idea. Now, what are you reading from that? They would always say our job is to give you the fundamentals. And from those fundamentals, you can then have the ability to go out and problem solve.
Within that word is fun.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, as kids, isn't it? The fun part is just being curious.
Yes.
Right? And then my little daughter does that all day long. She's like, what are those little holes in the wall? Let me see.
Yes.
No, don't touch that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Oh, what is this? This is my mom's lipstick. What is it? No, don't touch. But it's just a curiosity. And every time you stop her, she just starts laughing. Right? And as parents and as coaches, we can't remove the curiosity.
But that
It's our
also
job to
opens up
guide the
that
curiosity.
opens up imagination, inventiveness during the game,
Yeah.
right? Problem solving in the midst of things happening,
Yeah.
right? And I know imagination. It was mentioned by Caitlin, right, with the ball made of socks, imagining a hoop. But you're a big, big believer in imagination. I know Harry Potter is a big thing for you, right?
yeah.
Those of you who didn't know that, he's all about the Hogwarts. He's all about it, right?
You can quiz me if you want.
Yes.
We can go at it.
It's real.
Oh, it's real.
It's real.
It's real.
But what role does imagination play in sport and play and kids staying in the game?
Well, God, I gotta tell you, man, imagination is key because you have to be able to envision it and dream it first, right? And so when I was a kid growing up and I would be out playing by myself or whether I was in a house with my dad's tube socks, I would envision it in my mind, I would really be inside of the Forum. You know, I'd really be going against the Celtics. Like, that's what I'm seeing, you know, and to have that imagination, to put yourself there and to be able to, you know, do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and do all these things. It's really important to try to hold on to. And in this day and age, sports has become very structured, right, which is also concerning because sports are very structured. It's practice time, club teams. So we don't have time to bring that imagination out. And it's a really big concern, so much so that in practice, at least once a week, the first 20 minutes of practice, I have just imagination play. Where kids get to a basket and they just imagine. Just imagine, just play. Just take 20 minutes and just imagine what it is, right? And you look at them and they're doing this thing and I'm like, man, I wonder what they're seeing in their head. You know, like I wonder what it is that they're imagining, but it's for them.
Yes, and I think we talk about unstructured play and the importance of it and free play, and the more we can find moments to avail that and offer that to young people, I think we're going to elevate their ability to deal with difficult, right? Because you mentioned that they don't know how to problem solve. When they deal with some adversity on the court is a reflection of what they're going to deal with in life.
Well, this is, I'll go back to what George R. Martin told me. I asked him, because I was writing this novel, and I was having issues with the parents, you know, stay, go, you know. And he goes, I said, George, you know, in all your stories, you know, did the parents have to die? You know what I'm saying? Anybody here watch Game of Thrones? I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the parents, I mean, now, so did the parents have to die? And he goes, yeah. And I go, really? He goes, well, yeah, they either have to die or be a part of the problem, but it's got to be one of those two, right? And so, and I say that to say, it's a terrible analogy anyway, but bear with me. I say that to say that as parents of young athletes and coaches, if we are constantly providing the answers for them, they will not figure out how to problem solve on their own. So our job is to simply give them the tools to fish and then let them go out there and fish. Right? And let them figure things out. We can't, like after the game, you get in the car with your kid and you're like, hey man, you should have did this, or you should have done that, or you should have done this. And you're just like, oh my God, right? Step away, let them process it, let them figure it out.
And I think having that level of autonomy, right, you build self-confidence, right? And the more self-confidence, you can walk through the world with a level of, I can handle this. And I think that's a way that we can deal with a lot of the issues we're having with young people, right? Is that they don't know how to deal with difficult and they're really struggling with that, but they got to gain that confidence.
Yeah.
So look, we could talk up here for a bit longer, right? Clock is screaming at me right now, right? I'm like, really? We've been up here that long?
Yeah.
Right? But I'm going to ignore that for just a second.
Ignore
right?
away. Hey, I'm
Tom
here.
is
I'm
sitting
chilling.
right there. It's all love up here. This doesn't happen every day, so we going to Philly hijack this joint, right? And I threw John out there, right? So you know.
Yeah, Dawn.
They don't know nothing about John.
Yeah, Dawn Stanley. You guys know who Dawn Stanley is? So there was one game, we had a pickup game. We were playing against a bunch of pros, like all the top pros. And I'm in the gym, and I'm 16. And Dawn's in the gym, and she's the only woman in the gym. And they put us on the same team. And so I'm sitting down, and Dawn comes up to me, and she goes, hey, let's kick their ass. I was like, let's do it. And we ran the table. So for 3 hours straight, me and Dawn proceeded to kick the crap out of these professional basketball players. I haven't seen her in a very, very long time, but my God, that was
Coach
fun.
Staley is no joke at South Carolina.
no, she don't
I've
play.
watched her on the bench, and it's like, I remember, and it looked like Coach Staley at Hawk Hill, right?
Yeah, she don't play.
She does not play. Dobbins Tech.
Yep.
Dobbins Tech. So we've been talking about coaches, we've been talking about opportunity, and there was a tool that was launched by Nike, right? How to Coach Kids.
Yep.
And within that, I love the fact that it's only 30 minutes and intensive. But within that, what would you hope coaches could take away from using that or going through that 30 minutes?
Well, look, I think it's important to understand that it's a constant learning experience, right? We can't discount the importance of coaches, right? And so if you ask Phil Jackson, how do you get better as a coach? He'll give you a very specific answer about what he reads, what he studies, psychology, human development, how to deal with players that have experienced different things in their childhood. I mean, he'll go and he'll read about his players and how they grew up and whatever trauma they may have suffered, and he studies up on how to connect with them, right? So the level of importance that we have as coaches and as parents cannot be understated. And so to have a platform and to continue to be curious ourselves and learn about the best way to connect, to reach, to help, to inspire, to inform is extremely important, extremely important.
But I think the more that coaches feel empowered, right, and they know that they have tools at their disposal, they can advance this next generation of leaders, makers, doers, and dreamers. I think it's important. And we have to stop asking the question, what's wrong with you? We need to ask the question, what happened to you? I said it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that true?
That's true.
Right? Because many times it's something that has informed that.
Sure.
Right? It's not what's wrong with you. Right? It's what happened to you. And the more that we can get to that, it's important. So, I told you how we're going to end this. First, share with the audience one thing you'd like for them to take away from the 2 moments that you've had here on stage. What would be one nugget, a pearl, or something that you'd like for them to take away from the 2 moments with the youth panel and this conversation?
Well, I think for the youth panel, I think it's on us to try to teach kids what excellence looks like and feels like. They all have dreams. Zoe wants to be a doctor. They all have things that they want to accomplish. And it's our job not to tell them to have perspective or to be realistic, but instead it's to give them the tools to help them chase that dream. And along that process, they'll learn what excellence looks like, because now that's something that this is the journey that they want to be on, right? It's what they love to do. And through that process, they'll understand the blend between work and play. And I think that's the best thing that we can teach them. That's what excellence looks like. And for us as adults, I think it's important for us to get out of the way.
Get out the way.
Sometimes the most important thing you can do is just to observe. Just to observe. I have a player on the team, and when she gets nervous, she just does like this. She taps her. I'm not going to say stop being nervous. I just let her tap away. Right? And you just watch, and then you can guide. Right? But I think it's important for us just to get out of the way, observe, listen, learn, and guide.
And model excellence. I think that was wonderful. If your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough.
Yeah.
It should scare you.
It's true.
It should get you up in the middle like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that to Kobe Bryant. And he's going to check on me.
Yep.
So lastly, and I want you to speak directly to our audience, what's your call to action?
Learn. That is the call to action. Learn. Learn, 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 learn. Same way Phil learns his players, I think we should challenge each other to do the same thing. Because like I said, you cannot underestimate the importance that we have as coaches and the importance that sports play in the lives of our young children. It's the greatest metaphor we have in life, sport, right? I mean, you can tell kids all you want, be a great teammate, how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with pressure, but sports puts them in an environment on a daily basis in which they are challenged by those exact things. And emotionally, they have to navigate themselves through it. So we have to learn what it is that they can be going through. This way we can help guide them through these things. And I think that's the call to action.
And so I think the more that we recognize we have an opportunity to maximize opportunity. Every time we're in these moments, are you here with this challenge, a personal challenge? I'm going to take 1, 2, 3 nuggets away, but also I'm going to be the storyteller when I go back for those who didn't get to attend. So if you show up here on behalf of those who aren't here, right, you're learning for them, it changes your whole perspective while you're here. It will change your whole perspective. You'll show up differently. Be where you are. Listen, learn, lead, and show up. Our goal is to rise up and raise the game of others. Are we good? Are we good?
Good.
My
Good
man,
money.
50 grand.